Hi, my name is Brett Gilliland. I'm co-founder and CEO of Elite Entrepreneurs. When Clayt asked me to come be part of this course, I was just ecstatic because I spent many years working alongside Clayt where we learned and implemented a lot of the things we're talking about today. So it's my privilege to talk to you about the fourth key to success, which is strategy. Now, the strategy part, the strategy key is broken up into two modules. One of them is customer strategy. I'm not going to talk about that at all. We're leaving that to somebody else to cover. Today, we're going to talk about company strategy. So the fourth key to success is strategy, two parts, company and customer. We're just going to focus on company strategy right now. So having said that, let's paint a quick picture. All of you know what it's like to be sucked into the day-to-day chaos of your business. It just keeps coming every single day, day after day. You're sucked into the whirlwind of chaos that is running a business. And you know from listening to my friend Clayt that the natural chaos and confusion that happens in business can be turned into clarity and confidence if we learn how to conquer the chaos. So we're going to talk about how you do that with company strategy today. All right, so strategy in its essence is all about the narrowing choices, how you take all the world of possibility, narrow that down to the key things that you're going to do that will help you be competitive in the market and win. It's a relatively few choices that you're making to stand out, to be different in the market and win. And so where does company strategy start? Well, it starts with being really clear about your vision, clear about your purpose, your values, your mission. So when we talk about setting the vision here in this setting, we're talking about getting clear on your purpose, your values, and your mission. We're going to talk about that again in the leadership chapter when we get to key number 6. But for now, let's just focus on what purpose and values are quickly, and then we'll cover those again later. Purpose is the core why of your business. It's the guiding star. It should last forever, and it helps you make decisions about whether or not you should do things, whether or not you should enter new markets, whether or not it makes sense to partner with this potential partner, whether or not it makes sense to take on investment from a potential investor. The purpose lasts for 100 years or more. It's basically the thing that doesn't change, and it's the core why of your business. You can't do good strategy unless you're clear on purpose, so we got to start there. Next is the values, and that's the how. It's how we operate around here. It's the core behaviors of the right team members. Sometimes you can think about this as the who. So the how or the who, the behavioral elements that help us understand how we do things around here. So that purpose and those values make up the core identity that we share here in the business. And the third component to a good vision is mission. And that's the launch point that we want to go from for this strategy section. So let me tell you what it means to get really clear on a good destination-oriented mission. Okay? Because it does no good to just run on the treadmill every single day. The treadmill of entrepreneurship that never changes if you don't have clarity that aligns everybody in the team about what we're doing specifically together. So we can break out of the chaos and work on something that is very future-oriented and that is very aligning and it's very focused so we know what to say no to. Okay, so the mission is set up a very specific way. It's not a broad mission statement like some big companies have, that's very general, very broad, it's meant to be a motivating type of thing, but usually it just falls flat. What we want to do is get a very targeted, destination-oriented mission so that everybody on the team knows exactly what we're up to, what we're trying to accomplish within a specific time frame. The mission has a very specific format to it. And you'll see here in a minute that there's a qualitative aspect and a quantitative aspect. So the format is something like this. We will accomplish X by the end of 3 years. Okay, the mission has a very specific end date to it. So you'll hear, if you review that format again, there's a specific what by when. We will do this what by the end of 3 years. So you pick your 3-year time frame out, and the qualitative portion is what position do we want to achieve in the marketplace, or what great accomplishment do we want to have done by the end of the 3 years. So we name that. And the quantitative part is that we're going to give it some teeth. We're going to have 3 specific measurable goals that go with the mission. So I like to call that the mission with accompanying mission goals. And really, those mission goals are the evidences of success. The quantifiable, how do we know if we accomplish the mission? So the mission would be something like, we're going to become the #1 provider of this service in the greater Phoenix area, which is where I'm located. It could be a geography. It could be a marketplace. It could be some other way that you identify a thing that you're going to accomplish together. And then we're going to quantify that with 3 specific measurable sub-goals or goals that support the broader qualitative mission that you've named. And the goals might be things like revenue attainment, number of customers served. Maybe you have a goal to have a certain level of net promoter score or customer satisfaction along with those other measurable items. 5 million in revenue, serving 1,000 customers, and no less than a 95% customer satisfaction rating. So any 3 measures that you think get at the heart at what does winning look like when we achieve this mission. So it's a qualitative and quantitative mission, a specific objective that we're up to over the next 3 years. And the reason that's important, instead of an open-ended mission statement like some companies do, is that once we have that clear destination picked out, we can actually make important strategy decisions about what things we'll say no to, which should be an answer from heaven for most of you, right? It's like, there's all these things we could do. There's opportunity everywhere. But we don't want opportunity everywhere. We want focus. We need focus. Our people are craving focus as well. So we can't do everything. We have to limit our choices to the very few things that will make the biggest difference for us. And we can't make those strategic decisions until we're really clear on the mission that we're up to next. So it's important when we start doing this strategy work that we get clear on the purpose and the values, and then the mission is going to give us total clarity on where we build the strategy work from there. All right. Once you have that clear mission statement, that clear what by when, qualitative and quantitative pieces to it, now we can dive in and start tackling other things like, what is our target market? What is the brand promise? What are the things that we're really good at? We call those strengths to leverage. What are the other 3 to 5 strengths that we need to develop still if we want to achieve that mission in 3 years? So we start building out elements of strategy that will enable us to achieve the mission. But we've got to start with total clarity on the mission first. Okay. So I don't have time in this brief module to get into each of the items for building out a great strategy, but it's important that you know exactly what strengths you're going to leverage in order to achieve that mission. That means understanding yourself really well. Not yourself as a person, but yourself as a business. What core competencies do we have? What unique technology? What unique relationships? What are those core things that make us different? If we put those combinations of strengths together in a unique way, we have a better chance of winning in the marketplace and achieving our mission. So those are the strengths to leverage. Similarly, we need to identify where are we not great today that we must develop if we want to achieve that mission in the 3-year time frame that we set out. So we call those strengths to develop. So you need 3 to 5 strengths to leverage and 3 to 5 strengths to develop. And we know which ones to choose based on that mission that we've already set. Once you have that level of clarity and you know which customers you're going after and what your brand promise is, the kind of positioning that you're doing in the marketplace, now you're starting to get a strategic picture that will enable you to get clarity on annual priorities and quarterly priorities. Okay, we're going to start moving into what I would consider a meeting rhythm to help you achieve the mission. Once you have that mission identified, now you can start making strategic choices about how to utilize your resources. And that's capital, that's how you organize your team with the people, it's where you spend your time. All these valuable and scarce resources. You don't have unlimited resources. I don't have unlimited resources in my business, so I have to make strategic choices about where to utilize those very precious, scarce resources. So a clear mission allows us to drill down and say, of all the places where we could invest valuable resources, what are the ones that will give us the best chance of succeeding to achieve our mission, okay? So how do we do that? Well, you do need to get clear on which customers you're going after. You're going to hear more about that in customer strategy. You're going to get clear on the brand promise to those customers, your positioning in the overall market. So you're going to get clear on all of those types of things, but I'm going to drill down with you now on strategic clarity and how you align resources in your business. So in terms of strategy, we all have strengths that we're already really good at. And I'm not talking about us as individuals. I'm saying us as a business. We have some core competencies. Maybe it's a specific technology that we're really, really good at. Maybe it's certain intellectual property. Maybe it's strategic partnerships that we have. Whatever it is that makes you unique, we want to draw on those same core competencies that got us to where we are today, and we're going to leverage some of those to get us to the mission that we're up to over the next 3 years. So we got to get down to 3 to 5 of all the competencies, all the strengths that we have. We're going to narrow that down to the 3 to 5 that are the key strengths that we must leverage if we want to continue to move forward towards that mission that we've set. Similarly, we've got to identify if there's any strengths that we don't have today that we need to develop between now and mission completion, such that if we don't develop these strengths, we significantly decrease our chances of achieving the mission. So we have certain strengths today that we're going to continue to leverage, and we need new strengths that we're going to have to develop if we want to have a chance of achieving our mission in that 3 years. In order for you to be able to take the strategy and actually make it real in your business, you need to learn how to make the transition from the mission to the core strategies, which are those strengths to leverage and those critical issues or strengths to develop. And then we're going to start identifying annual and quarterly priorities. Without those annual and quarterly priorities, we don't actually know what work we need to do to enable that future mission completion. So how do you do that? Well, we utilize a meeting rhythm, actually. Sounds kind of boring. Nobody wants more meetings. But the reason we do this is so that we can manage this constant tug and pull of working in the business versus on the business. All of us want to spend more time working on the business, and the only way to do that predictably is to set a really good meeting rhythm. All right, so there are daily meetings and weekly meetings and monthly meetings and quarterly meetings and annual meetings. There's a bunch of meetings, and I don't have time in this module to drill down to each of the meetings. Well, let me just say, every single year, you need to set aside a couple of days to get clarity on the annual priorities. And those annual priorities are directly aligned with the strategy elements we talked about earlier, where you have strengths that you're going to leverage, key things that you're good at today, those core capabilities that you think make you unique and that give you the best chance of winning in the market, that give you the best chance of achieving that mission that you've set out to achieve. And then there's other critical issues or strengths to develop that will need to be in place. Like, we've got to address these things if we want to achieve that mission. The only way to do that is if we have annual priorities that again, narrow down our focus. We can't do everything this year to leverage all the strengths and address all the critical issues. We can't do all of it in year one. So we're not going to try to do that. We're going to acknowledge that we can only focus on so many of those things and still run the day-to-day operations of the business. I'm not telling you that you should never work in the business. I'm telling you should be intentional about how much of your collective resources you apply to working in the business, getting today's results, versus how much of the team, energy, time, etc. is going towards building the future of your business, whether that's leveraging current capabilities or it's building on new ones and addressing some of those critical issues in your strategy. So we need annual priorities, not several, but I like to say no more than 3. Like, we just really need to narrow down what are those key capabilities we're going to work on this year, or what are those key critical issues we're going to address this year on our way to the mission. Then each quarter we're going to come up with a set of quarterly priorities. Again, no more than a few key things that are going to help us make big progress during the quarter towards those annual priorities. And those annual priorities, we already know, are aligned towards the bigger strategy on its way to achieving the mission, right? So all of this stuff lines right up. And so the annual and quarterly planning offsites are important elements, important times when we get clarity about which of the strategic things are we going to move forward this quarter or this year, compared to all the operational things that we're going to continue to do to get and serve customers today. Okay, so that important balancing act is always going on, and the meeting rhythm helps us keep it in check. Helps us spend enough time on the strategic progress, and with the daily and the weekly kind of focus, we can spend enough time on the operational excellence side of our business. So that's why you need a good meeting rhythm. I like weekly for really operational focused dashboards, key metrics kind of stuff. Are we on track? Are we getting enough leads? Are we serving enough customers? Is our retention good? All of those key health measures in the operations today, we're going to check on that every week. And then daily, sometimes we like a little huddle, make sure the team's aligned and focused for that day. So that's all operational. As we get into monthly, quarterly, annual, now we can intentionally step out of the weeds, out of the day-to-day, and focus on that bigger picture. In summary, in this fourth key to success called strategy, we had two parts, company strategy and customer strategy. Customer strategy is covered in a different module. We talked about company strategy here. You have to get that super clear mission, that objective that we're all working on together. Then you can start to drill down on some of the other strategy elements, those core competencies that we have to leverage if we want to achieve our new mission, and the critical issues or new strengths that we need to develop if we want to achieve that mission. And those come down into annual and quarterly priorities that we focus on. So we're working on operational excellence stuff every single day, every single week, every single month. And we're working on strategic progress stuff at the same time through this annual and quarterly planning process. All right, I hope you found that useful in getting clear on your company strategy. This is one of the difference makers for entrepreneurs who figure out how to keep going. So this is definitely a key to success. I love what Clayt is doing here. Make sure you continue to benefit from these modules that are being put together for you. This course is going to be a difference maker for you.